Now that I've officially announced that I'm going to be driving for the LROC, I want to share with you kind of how it all happened, because I honestly think that this is one of those moments where I look back and go, wow, but God. It starts with a random Facebook post. Ralph Hansen Jr. was posting all of his stuff and what he does with Pegasus Marketing Group, like all of the marketing, all the promoting, all the racing stuff. And honestly, when I first saw these posts, I blew it off. I saw it. I thought it was interesting. I thought what he was doing was really innovative, but I didn't instantly think, wow, I need to call this guy right away. But for whatever reason, I just kept telling my friends about it. And they were like, you need to inquire about this. I mean, you keep talking about it. And they were just like, I don't know. I just feel like God's kind of just check it out. There wasn't this huge sign from God, a flash in the sky or anything. It was just this kind of gentle nudge through friends that was like, yeah, go ahead and ask and inquire about this. There wasn't a guarantee, of anything would happen working with Ralph. It was just something that we thought would be a good idea moving forward. That's something that I've really learned in this return to racing. Sometimes following God's will doesn't look like something great and grand and huge. It just feels like obedience and taking a little tiny step forward. So I reached out. I signed with Ralph and Pegasus Marketing Group, and then God just connected the little dots from there. Ralph was in connection with Ted Woerner, who is actually another driver in Vintage Indy and works for M1 Concourse. And M1 Concourse was putting together the LROC Invitational, an event that brings together a whole bunch of professional female drivers for this American Speed Festival in the Lotus Emiras. From my understanding, it was literally that morning that Ralph had reached out that M1 and Ted realized that they were needing another driver for this event. Think about that timing for just a second. They needed a driver. Ted and Ralph knew each other. Ralph had just started representing me. And then all of a sudden, my name starts getting tossed around in a conversation at exactly the right time. A conversation that I wasn't even in, about an event that I didn't even know about, for an opportunity that I wasn't even chasing, all stemming back from a random Facebook post that I almost completely ignored. And that's where it gets me, because I think sometimes when we're asking God for something, asking Him to pull off even a miracle, we're expecting these big, grand things to happen. We're expecting flashing lights or something to just dump in our lap, something that we can see from start to finish. And honestly, even if we do see these signs, a lot of times I think we don't give God the glory and the credence for pulling some of this stuff and orchestrating some of this stuff out. And so much of what I believe God has been teaching me lately is that that's not always how it works. Sometimes, I think most of the time, it literally looks like God just nudging us ever so quietly to take that next step. Then you start following God step by step. He keeps nudging you a little bit this way and a little bit that way. And then months later, you finally look up and realize how far you've truly come and how far God has literally brought you through this journey. I couldn't have reached out to Ralph knowing about signing for the LROC. I didn't even know the LROC was a thing. Ralph couldn't have promised that he could get me a seat driving for them. I could not have orchestrated the timing between Ted and M1 Concourse and needing a driver at the exact moment. It was just taking one tiny little step, listening to one little nudge. Do I inquire working with Ralph, or do I blow it off? And thankfully, with some encouragement from some great friends, I inquired. And God took it from there. This is becoming such a theme getting back into racing for me. I have dreams, I have giant goals. I work incredibly hard to reach those. And I believe that we are supposed to put in the work. We're supposed to do hard things. But I'm also realizing that it's not my job to orchestrate all of these opportunities. It's simply mine to listen and to work hard and to stay prepared and honestly recognize the open doors that God is providing and walk through them when He calls me to. I don't know where the LROC is going to lead. I don't know where Ralph and I's partnership is going to lead. And ultimately, I don't even know where returning to racing in general is going to lead. But that's kind of the point, right? Like, I didn't know that this Facebook post would lead to getting signed for the LROC. But God did. So maybe that's my Faith Friday for the week. Don't underestimate the small nudges. And honestly, don't overlook them either. Don't assume that just because you can't see the big picture, that God isn't orchestrating one behind the scenes. Sometimes faith doesn't show you the finish line. Sometimes God is just taking you through one corner and then the next one. And then one day you get to look back and you get to go, oh, so that's what you were doing.